Hello again and welcome to Last Time Studios. Here it is, the Commodore Amiga 500 Mini. Finally, at last, have it in my hands. Oh! Yeah, if you're an Amiga fan, you've probably already watched at least a few videos about it, but I didn't want to rush it out the day I got my hands on it, so I thought I'd give it a few weeks, give it a good play, have some fun, and then let you know what I thought. This isn't going to be an in-depth video talking about how to run Workbench and the like. I presume if you're watching this, you've already done this back in the day, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you've never had an Amiga, or if you've never ran Workbench, if you don't know, it's basically an operating system like Windows, but we're not going to cover it in this video. This video is really just an appreciation for the original machines, that being the Amiga series, including the 500, 500 plus, 600 and 1200, all of which I played and some of which I owned. I'm excluding the more powerful and commercial machines from my list. It's also to show some appreciation for the beautiful replication of the machine in all its glory, with a bit of nostalgia thrown in there, some recommendations and a few little hints if you've managed to get your hand on one of these beauties. As you can see, it comes beautifully packaged, and honestly the attention to detail in my mind, it's really there. I never got my hands on a CD32 sadly, despite begging for one when I was younger and when they cost practically nothing. I also sadly had to sell my very last Amiga, the 1200, quite a few years ago, and I've always pined for another one, and this little machine fits the bill perfectly, fills that slot. The mouse is also very much a treat, and it's very reminiscent of the original. The CD32 pad is surprisingly nice, to be honest, though I've never had a chance to use the original one. Thankfully also, most of the games are set up to use one of the ABXY buttons to jump, unlike most machines which mostly in the original used the joystick and the up movement or the up press to jump, which was absolutely horrendous and a nightmare in my opinion, but that's the way it was back in the day. It was very annoying. Little things like that, little changes just make a big difference. They're already set up for you. If you've never had an Amiga before and you just enjoy playing retro gaming, then honestly, pick one up. You'll feel the magic of the Amiga that no other computer had, in my opinion. It's the little things that make the Mini great, honestly, no pun intended. It's about the size of two Sega Genesis Mini machines, or about the same size as an entire Switch Lite. It came with all beige cables, which was a lovely touch, like the HDMI and the power cable. Very nice indeed. And just a little tip when you plug it in, make sure that you use a decent power plug. Don't use the 5V connections from your television or other smaller power sources, because it creates problems. Loading games from the USB stick wouldn't quite work properly unless the console is properly powered, so make sure you do that. Talking about the games and the USB add-ons, firstly, what I gather is that a lot of USB sticks will work, but I suggest a branded stick. The low profile one I bought was the SanDisk Cruiser Fit 32GB USB 2.0 flash drive. I'll drop a link for it in the description as link 1. Let's talk about the system, booting it, pre-installed games and other games. So first, let's take a run through a few of the pre-installed games. There's a lot of great games already on the system. My favourites pre-installed being Stunt Car Racer, Paradroid 90, which I was very happy and actually very surprised to see. Pinball Dreams, great game, and finally Quack, which is a very underrated and fun game. Bit of a tip for Paradroid 90, there's a learning curve on it with the transfer attempts puzzles, so if you just want to enjoy the game, you just want to have a blast on it, make sure that you press select on the pad, and then on the keyboard display press F1, then on the menu that pops up, press the option to take the transfer game off. Trust me, you'll thank me for that later. It's a blast. I remember playing Paradroid 90 back in the day and loving it. It definitely had some advanced features and thoughts behind it, which made it very, very unique. There was even talk of a remake, and I'd love more than anything to see that. Super. Stunt Car Race, for its time, it was epic. The damage system, the graphics, even the controls are great. The frame rate's a little low, but that's to be expected. The learning curve, it's one of those types of games. It's back in the day, the era. It was very tough, but it was very rewarding if you mastered it. If you know me, you know I love pinball, both real and virtual, and Pinball Dreams for its time was spot on, amazing. The graphics were crisp and clean, and the physics really surprising. Still good to play to this day. Quack's a very underrated game. As you can see from the gameplay, I'm terrible at it now, but back in the day, I used to be quite decent. It's what I would consider a fun puzzle platformer. You'll love it. And also some special mentions to Speedball 2, Chaos Engine, Zool, although actually I preferred Zool 2, Another World, which seems to be on every platform these days, Alien Breed, Supercars 2 and Arcade Pool. I definitely recommend you check all these games out. Great fun and still hold up to this day. And if you hate us for missing out some of the others that were pre-installed, well, That's okay. In terms of adding more games, I'll briefly explain what I do. There's a lot of explanations out there, so I just keep mine super brief. Download the WHD load package from the Amiga Mini website and drop it straight onto your USB stick, no messing about. I'll put the link in the description as link 2. Then you just add your games, it's as easy as that. In terms of downloading games, best advice is to use the Lemon Amiga site, and again I'll post a link down below as link 3. So you just type in the game you want, download the file, pull it onto your USB stick, and that's it, no messing about. It'll show up when you boot as long as you've got the WHD load package installed. Done, you can play. Now if you want an expansive list of what games are good to play, I'd strongly suggest you search top 100 Amiga games on YouTube and look at Kim Justice's channel. Absolutely kills with that video. If you want any other Amiga information or in-depth information, look up Dan Wonders' channel. There are a few others, but they're my favourites. When it comes to the Amiga, let's be honest, it was so much more popular in the UK and Europe. These guys really know their stuff. But saying that, I'd like to recommend a few games that seemingly don't get very much of a mention, a few oddities and a few cuties. And we start with Flood, a beautiful, brilliant, mesmerising and challenging puzzle game by Bullfrog, who produced several genius games over the years. WizKid, a bizarre art puzzle game from Sensible Software and Ocean Software. I love this game. It's fun, it's weird, it's art. Just play it. Next game, I don't know how to pronounce. Simulacra. It's something along those lines. But anyway, Simulacra, a 3D shooter game. It's unique to me in that it just plays like a dream. And there's a really interesting damage element of the game where you lose your wings if you sustain too much damage, which brings a really interesting element of the game. You've got to try this game. It really doesn't get enough love. Rodland, a cutesy, unique game that's fun. You just can't put it down, and it's a must try as a 2-player game. Metal Mutant, never see this one. Is it just me, or does this game never seem to get mentioned or not get mentioned much? Something about it screams that it's way beyond its 1991 release date. It's a side scroller where your machine has different mutations and you also gain powers through the game to help you go along. And because of that, there's definitely a puzzle element to it. Sometimes it does run a little slow, and there are patches to fix that. It's a game beyond its time, in my opinion. Maybe a concept game designers should look at. Maybe they should revisit. Apocalypse, a Desert Strike style game, but with side-scrolling. The intro graphics not always seriously impressed us when it loaded up. There's some really strange quirks on this game, and it was hilarious to play with my mates. Gameplay was tough, but really fun. One to look out for. Agony, a side-scrolling shooter with a unique twist. You play as an owl. I get the feeling without researching it or fully understanding the engine that it's got a lot of similarities to Shadow of the Beast. It is a Psygnosis game, that makes sense. Great in its own right, in any case. Bubba and Sticks. This video shown is the CD32 version. Yes, the Mini will play CD32 versions of games if you didn't already realise it would. Great fun, great artwork, great graphics, great quirky platformer, and a really nice puzzle game, and it gets super tough in my opinion. Chips Challenge, super fun. I love the Amiga version in particular. Castle Master, yeah, the music, it's so amazing, and it's definitely one of the highlights of the game for me. I could just boot this thing up and listen to it without even bothering playing. I remember it feeling super spooky back in the day. Not so much now, but it's still a great fun game to play, even though I'm terrible at it. Exile, what a great game. What a strange game. What a tough game. Prepare yourself for this one if you start it up. You're in for a challenge. Fire and Ice, yeah, it's great looking, great animations. It's not particularly running well, to be honest, on the Mini at this stage, but a few simple tweaks will get that sorted. Shufflepuck Cafe. This game has a bizarre difficulty curve. The first kid you play, super easy, and some of the other opponents are like literally impossible to beat. Still, it's a fun game all the same, and a great game using the Amiga mouse. I know you've all probably played this one, but I'm going to mention it anyway because I love it. It's the first game I ever remember playing on the Amiga. Last but not least, Rainbow Islands. It's such a cool game and it looks really nice, particularly nice on the Amiga. There's so many other great games I could mention. What can I say? This thing's a great little machine. There's ongoing support from the makers of the system, along with updates from the Amiga Mini community, which is really building fast. I'm sure there'll be a lot of improvements over time, small tweaks and graphical improvements. The pre-installed games work perfectly in my opinion, and the Amiga 500 Mini is absolutely amazing. So final thoughts on the Amiga Mini. It's a great machine, I love it. It's from the era of the SNES and the Mega Drive, so if you're into those types of games, that type of era, then it's one to go for sure, even if you've never owned an Amiga. If you have owned an Amiga previously and you've always thought about getting another one and you're put off by the old hardware and all of its problems, then this is the one to go for. It's super easy to sort out, it's super easy to play the games, it's super fun. Just get it. But that's it for this week. Please like and subscribe. I hope you enjoy. I'll see you soon.